Health authorities in San Andres started the booster vaccination against COVID-19 in people 70 years and older.
The immunization of the islanders against COVID-19 continues to be a priority. Just the vaccination coordination continues to work steadily with the purpose of achieving this goal. As part of this work, adults over 70 years of age are especially invited to apply the booster dose.
In San Andres, since last week, we began with the stage for people over 70 years old who have already applied their second dose to receive the booster shot. The booster is received 6 months after the second dose is applied. At this moment, it is only for people over 70 years of age.
In this sense, it is important that those interested in continuing with their vaccination schedule to keep in mind the vaccination sites.
Puntos que tenemos en esta semana son: the sites we have this week are the tent at the hospital, the health center of San Luis, and the health center on the hill.
The COVID-19 vaccination coordinator emphasized the importance of applying the booster dose.
Seguir reforzando el sistema inmunológico. To continue reinforcing the immune system. We know that the virus has different mutations, so we have to adapt the body to these other mutations that are forming.
The National Police and the Departmental Hospital reported 1 death and 2 injuries during the weekend due to acts of intolerance.
After the activation of padlock planned by the National Police on the Hill sector in search of persons suspect of transporting firearms in a vehicle with the identified characteristic in observing San Luis sector, the patrol gave the stop sign. In the process, the signs were omitted and the vehicle fled. In the same action, they opened fire on the patrol, who reported the situation to the communication center and began pursuit, intercepting them in a Ranch Hill sector, where an armed person descended from the vehicle and began to shoot at the police, who reacted by neutralizing him. A wounded person was taken to the hospital for first aid, who died after being taken to the hospital and after being treated by the doctor.
During the weekend, we had a patient admitted on Friday night with 4 gunshot wounds in very bad general condition. One of the thoracic, abdominal, and precordial wounds, in which when he was admitted, all the CPR maneuvers were performed. Unfortunately, due to the bad general condition of the wounds, he died at about 9:10 at night.
The necessary protocols were established to preserve the place of the facts, where through the collection of physical evidence, the confiscation of a firearm was achieved. The vehicle was immobilized where ammunition was found inside, and in which 2 other people who also fired and escaped from the place where the vehicle was abandoned. On the other hand, the departmental hospital reports the admission of 2 other wounded persons on Sunday.
A good balance is provided by the Secretary of Government about the first weekend under the Decree 0412 of October 5, 2021, which prohibits the circulation of minors on the street unaccompanied by parents at night.
We can give a positive report. We were able to have control through the family police station. The officials of the family police station and the childhood and adolescents police, where we were touring the pedestrian pathway and the different sectors of the island. This first weekend, the activity was more pedagogical, where there were some minors in the pedestrian pathway, but they were accompanied by their parents, which is totally allowed. We only had 2 minors who were not in the company of their parents, and these were taken to their parents, where at the time of delivering them to their home, they were given an educational campaign.
Let us remember that this measure is imposed as a prevention and protection of the underage adolescents. It is also emphasized that in the case of non-compliance with the warning measure as a measure of establishment of rights by the parents or legal representative, the competent authority will impose a fine of 1 to 100 legal daily wages, convertible into arrest at the rate of 1 day for each legal minimum daily wage of fine, as established in Article 55 of Law 1098 of 2006.
And last week, the Governor on Your Side program was launched, where the community is expected to learn about the projects and programs of the departmental government and also the inhabitants of the island, so that they can expose the problems of their sectors.
The Governor on Your Side began where the regional government works through various sectors of the island to talk to the community about the problems that arise in the same and expose to citizens the regional projects and plans that are intended to give for the archipelago. On this occasion, the interim governor, Luis Viloria, was in the neighborhood of Luxubai, giving a sense of ease about the Road 13 in its different stages.
That this strategy of the governor on your side is precisely each secretariat to be able to expose to the community clearly what we are doing from the departmental government in terms of tax relief, from the Secretariat of Social Development, from the Secretariat of Mobility, giving information on the issue of how to pay fines. The governor's idea is that the community has a clear, transparent, and unambiguous idea of what we are doing in each of the secretariats to serve the community.
The program is expected to be developed weekly in different sectors of the island. The interim governor also informed that soon they will be in the sector of Red Ground, conducting activities from this program with the respective secretaries to know the problems of the community and inform about the different activities that will be developed and that are expected to benefit these sectors. Additionally, Luis Viloria commented on the next year budget.
We have already presented the draft ordinance for the budget of the year 2022, about 600,000 million pesos that we will develop in works, goods and services for the welfare of the community of San Andres, Old Providence and Santa Catalina.
The magistrate of the administrative court clarified the decision taken on the property My Carpenter Yard, as well as the doubts that were woven around that decision.
Before the ruling that was presented in recent days where the administrative court announced the new legal decisions on the lot My Carpenter Yard, Magistrate Jose Maria Mo explained the reasons for the decision and clarified that the property was not returned to the Rizal community as indicated by some media written on their social networks.
The restitution of the property is not granted because it will be necessary to declare the nullity of the act of authorization or the contract itself. The plaintiffs brought some grounds for nullity, but the law does not allow that by means of control. That is to say, by the means of control of defense of rights and collective interest or popular action. Administrative acts or contracts can be annulled.
Through the ruling, the nation, the Ministry of Defense, and the police were ordered that the construction to be carried out in said lot must be in accordance with the traditional infrastructure of the archipelago. Also, an open and adequate space must be built on the site, where the members of the Rizal community may carry out cultural events such as gastronomic, musical, and handicrafts activities. The document states that the government is ordered to translate this sentence into Creole within 1 month, and also orders the departmental government to read this sentence in the official language of the archipelago within 2 months in a solemn ceremony at the police facilities.
And as a part of the interinstitutional commitment to protect the Seaflower Biosphere Reserve, the specific command guaranteed the birth of more than 5,000 sea turtles this year so far.
Committed to the environment and the preservation of species in the Biosphere Reserve, the Colombian Navy, through the specific command units, works guaranteeing the birth and subsequent release in their natural habitat of more than 5,032 sea turtles, which during the second half of the year carry out their nesting process in the smaller islands located in the north and south of the San Andres and Providence Islands. In addition to avoiding environmental factors such as the sun, rain, birds of prey, the works carried out by the young members of the Marine Infantry Battalion number 11 includes the identification, marking, and protection of nearly 50 nests and 100 of turtle eggs currently located in the island of Albuquerque, Isotis, Sorinas, Sorinellas, and Roncador Keys. These species, among which are the loggerhead, hawksbill, green, and leatherback turtles, are received annually by personnel and the naval institution, who monitor the nesting process with the support of the environmental authorities such as the Environmental Corporation CORALINA and the Sea Turtle Foundation, and for aim at the environmental protection. The presence of the Colombian Navy in the smaller islands of the Archipelago Department and the permanent monitoring of these turtle nets allow the turtle to hatch in optimal condition to be later returned to their natural habitat, where they have the necessary condition for their growth, survival, and development.
And And while the world continues to experience the ravages of COVID-19 and its different variants, the situation seems to be improving in San Andres with fewer and fewer cases of COVID-19. Here is an assessment of this weekend.
Today we present a positive assessment of the activities conducted over the weekend during the economic opening processes left by the global pandemic of the COVID-19. During the past weekend, only one positive COVID case was reported in the entire island territory, along with 0 deaths in COVID-19 patients. It is questionable whether the low reports of COVID are due to the island's awareness or self-care and protection from this potentially deadly virus, or whether the reports are just the result of low testing. As evidenced by our cameras, recreational activities during the weekend have increased considerably and without the greatest care of avoiding the virus. Meanwhile, the rest of the country remains in a worrying situation. During this weekend, there have been more than 3,200 positive cases of COVID-19 and a little more than 14,500 active cases. The fifth stage of vaccination proposed by the national government and the Ministry of Health reports a total of 42,634,897 people vaccinated throughout the country, of which 18,308,930 have been completed vaccination package, and 24,300,897 people have only one dose. And in the archipelago of San Andres, Providence, and Santa Catalina Island, 84,559 people are reported to have been vaccinated.
As they say, no news is good news, and now let's learn about other facts that are the news today in our briefings.
In the facilities of the Cultural House on the Hill, the departmental government held the election of the delegation of seniors who will represent the department in the major meeting of the program New Start, Another Reason to Live of the Ministry of Sport, to be held this year in the department of Huila. The Environmental Corporation CORALINA conducted a cleaning session in the Obrero neighborhood in the mangrove swamp of the Maracana Courts, together with the Natural Foundation, Red Crab, Schooner Bight Ethnic Association, SENA, and different volunteers. The activity was held in order to collect waste and make the proper use and final disposal, preventing them from ending up in the bodies of water of the territory. The Tourism Protection Group of the National Police leads the campaign in the department All Against Theft, which seeks to prevent this crime in all its forms. Through the use of tags, the uniformed officers remind residents and tourists to take care of the items in public spaces, especially before entering the beaches, in addition to making good use of the face masks.